Well, good morning. So in the Torridon area, alongside Loch Murray, as you'll have seen, rather nice sunrise this morning. One of those that you just know that there's no point in trying to be somewhere because the best place to have been would have been up high, I think, or actually down beside Loch Clare perhaps. It was very fleeting, so I just sat and enjoyed it. I love this woodland. It's a beautiful place to be. There's a fantastic mountain trail as well. A waymarked mountain trail at that. I think it's one of the only waymarked mountain trails in Scotland. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, just out having a bit of a wander. That fleeting light has now disappeared, so whether we get anything else coming through or not. But as I say, we're going to be in this area for a good number of days. Once again, the weather forecasters had predicted that we may get a little bit of mist and fog, but no, nothing doing. So it's just a lovely pre-breakfast ramble. Getting my eye in again to this area. There's actually quite a nice little scene up behind me here. Smaller tree and the bigger sort of gnarled dead tree. With the right conditions, maybe with a dark moody sky behind and kind of front lit. I quite like the angle of the hillside. I quite like the two trees, the relationship between them both. I love that gnarly dead tree. Obviously right now it's not doing anything because it's kind of blending into the background, but it's potentially one for the future. So beautiful scene behind me here that's just crying out for a little bit of light. And possibly what I said earlier, maybe I should have been up here just that little bit earlier, but hey ho. But yeah, the scene here, we've got lovely mature Scotch pine, some silver birch. But it's kind of one of those scenes that, irrespective of the fact that we don't have any light, it's also one of those ones you got to be quite careful of, because I think for me the best composition is actually including a lot of that silver birch. But unfortunately what that does is it brings in a lot of this foreground. Now from a focusing perspective that would be okay to get over from a focus stacking side of things, but I'm just not sure that foreground is really bringing anything to the party. I really need to be another 3 or 4 foot up. My tripod is extended as high as it goes, and it probably needs to be just another little bit. Now of course I can focus further in and get beyond this foreground piece, but then I think I lose most of the character off that smaller silver birch. But again, just useful for me personally, just to spend a little bit of time on scenes like this and attune myself to what doesn't work more so than what works, because I think really getting accustomed to what doesn't work allows you then to hopefully further evolve as a photographer. So now, having said that, if there would have been some beautiful light on those hills, beautiful light on the trees, and especially a bit of a nice sky, maybe I would have gone ahead and made the image and seen whether the foreground was actually good enough, but it's just so still up here. Beautiful. So I've come away from the bigger sort of scenes at the moment, and it's quite often the case with me these days, looking at a little bit more of a quieter image. I came across these birches and the last embers of autumn, and they really are the last embers of autumn. The leaves have certainly seen better days, but contrasted against those beautiful, beautiful whites of the birches, it's kind of, I like it. I like that initial curve of that initial curve of that foreground tree, and then of course the 3 birches behind, and then the depth of the image. There's another birch further back, And then in between the two left-hand birches, there's a little bit more kind of going on. The problem that I'm having at the moment is shutter speed. I really don't want any movement in those leaves, and at the moment I'm getting about a 15th of a second, and there is just a little bit of a breeze picking up, so may need to increase my ISO a little bit just to compensate for that, but I haven't quite finalised the composition yet, and I think this will still just be a bit of a recce shot more than anything, because the light is still, I don't want it bright, but just a little bit more would be nice, but still quite a nice scene. So this is actually my favourite part of this little woodland walk here. You really get into some gnarly old trees and twisted and just everything going on. Here there's just so many stories, and probably potentially 3 or 4 different compositions going on. You know, a wider composition, something tighter in. So plenty of time to be spent in just this little area over the next few days, I reckon. Yeah, lots going on down here. And I say, this is my favourite little part. What would be ideal, and I don't think we're going to get it, is a little bit of drizzle actually, just to help throw out some of the background, but apparently, even though we're in Scotland, it's not going to rain for a while. That's beautiful. So much depth in these images as well, and that again can be one of the joys I find in woodland photography. You know, if you really study it, one of your images, you'll see so many branches crossing over each other, and I guess it's finding the right balance of where those branches are crossing over, and what are they revealing behind them, or what are they hiding behind them. Just beautiful. Right, we'll carry on walking. So I've barely come about 10 metres since the last time I spoke to you, and come across another lovely little scene with just lots going on. A couple of birches in the background, twisting this way and that. Lovely big dead old tree with just a couple of autumnal leaves left on it, and then to the right of that, another twisty old tree, lovely moss coloured boulders. It's backlit at the moment, and one thing about sort of light in conditions like this, even though it may look like everything is evenly lit, and it kind of is, if you study it, you can just pick out little pockets of light that can sometimes help you evolve the composition. But this is something that I certainly would want to come back to. Just this little scene here, this is something that really, let me just get up a little bit. Yeah, just walking into the scene, I think there's something there to be had. So I've been playing about a little bit handheld with a couple of shots, and we'll have to see what they look like when we get back to the mobile office, i.e. the van, which I believe there may be some coffee waiting on me, so just love being in this wood. It's just, yeah, it's beautiful. Right, we'll carry on. So I think that's me done for this morning. A few other little scenes. I actually put on I haven't used this lens in a long time. It's the 35mm 1.8, equates to about a 50mm field of view, but nothing doing. But yeah, this little stretch here, from here to just as you start to sort of head up the hill, days of fun in here. Again, as can quite often be the case, even to places that you've been to a number of times, it's just lovely to have a morning re-familiarising yourself, and that I find works best when conditions are a bit more subtle, so you're not panicking in glorious conditions. I'm not quite sure what I would have done had there been lots of mist and fog, but hey, it's just beautiful. Right, I is going to go back to the van, grab myself a coffee, and we shall catch up next week. See you later. Bye bye.